I'm a 39-year-old newbie. Started going to the gym in January. Since March, I've gone from 84 kilos to 94 kilos. That's about a 22-pound jump.
Oh, okay.
10 kilograms.
Okay.
I know some of the weight is muscle, but some of it is fat. I'm slightly terrified of gaining weight since I was depressed, anxious, and fat from the ages of 22 to 33. I am not going back, but I want to grow muscle. How do you deal with thoughts like this? Mm-hmm. This is a really tough one.
I think this is exactly what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
This is great. I can get even better because that's what bodybuilders and powerlifters do.
Yeah,
you bulk up,
Yep.
you gain muscle and you gain some fat, and then you cut.
Yep.
That is how you do this.
From a coaching perspective, it is very difficult. And I went through this with a couple of my athletes who in former lives, before they became bodybuilders or powerlifters or whatever, were overweight. Mm-hmm. And I have a unique perspective because that's my story as well.
Yeah.
And there's something psychologically that goes on with the association with success and the number coming down, which is incorrect.
Yeah.
And why I preach body composition change more so than direct weight loss. Because there are no situations where more muscle mass on your frame, well, unless your heart is growing muscle and you're going to die of atrophy or yeah. There are few situations where more muscle mass on your frame is going to be a negative.
Yeah.
But that carries with it the increase in scale weight most of the time. But that will change because as you continue to train and as you continue to dial in your nutrition, you will lose body fat.
Yes.
So that's the main difficulty. And you see this specifically with people who have gone through a major weight loss in the past. But you wake up and you look at yourself and you don't look like what you thought you would look like after you've gone through the weight loss. I'm speaking personally here. I did not like the way that I looked. I felt that I looked too small. I didn't have the amount of muscularity that I wanted on my frame. Like if you go back and look at that picture on my Instagram when
you were really little.
I was very small.
Or 250, yeah.
250, yeah. And I didn't like that from a vanity perspective, but also from a function perspective. I was not as strong as I wanted to. And I think a lot of people come to that same realization, especially if you've just done it through diet and excessive cardio. This is why I, again, always preach on a weight loss journey, bring some resistance training into the process.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to be more, you'll be happier with the way you look at the end of that if you added or maintain some muscle mass.
Right. It might slow down your total, time of losing weight, but you are probably going to feel better and look better.
I would almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
But so psychologically, you get down to that spot and you look at yourself and because if you've done the hard work to lose the weight, you've been in the fitness space long enough, you know how to gain the weight, how to gain the muscle. Yeah. Oh no, I've got to go into calorie surplus again. I just lost all this weight. How can I give myself permission to then gain weight back? This is incredibly difficult.
Scary.
Incredibly difficult. I've gone through it. A lot of my clients have gone through it. The only thing that I can say that will help you through it is understanding that once you've done the hard part to take the weight off, taking the weight off again is not as difficult.
Yeah.
And every subsequent bulk and cut becomes a little bit easier. Not easier in that you still have to do the work, but easier mentally because you know you've done it.
You know how to do it. You know you can do it.
You are proof of concept at that point. You say, oh, I've done this before.
Yeah.
I know it works. Because the biggest thing about weight loss is not thinking that it's not going to work. That is a driver of so much fear. But if you've already done it, you have the proof that it's going to work.
Right.
So you just do it again.
Right.
So I read this and I thought, I definitely got to do this question because this is very, very similar to what I have dealt with. Yeah. And again, what a lot of my clients have dealt with.
Yeah. And I just wouldn't worry too much about it if I were them. I know that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But you can build all the muscle and then, cut a little bit to get some of the extra fat off if you don't like it.
What I would do, let's get very specific. So he says he's gone 84 to 94 kilos. That's a 22-pound jump. That's a pretty significant jump.
Yeah.
And I would say Most likely 15 of that is probably fat. Just it may not be, but just based on how fast we accumulate fat mass versus muscle mass. Now he is newer to the gym, so he may be getting some newbie gains.
But probably at least
so let's go
half
10
of
and
it.
10. Yeah. That's still maybe more fat than you wanted to bring onto the frame.
Yeah.
When we're doing a bulking cycle, we want to minimize the amount of fat that we're so the surplus is a bit lower. Usually you don't want to go above it's different for everybody. 2 to 3% body fat gained. At that point, it's like, okay, we gotta cut this off.
Yeah.
So he's above that.
Okay. So it's time to cut, you would say?
I would say, honestly, cut back down to about 89 kilos. And then give yourself a moderate calorie surplus of about 200 to 300 grams. Or sorry, 200 to 300 calories. Mostly in protein and carbohydrates. Not a lot of fats.
Bulk up again.
With rigorous resistance training, bulk back up and see how you feel around 93, 94.
Yeah.
And then start the cycle over again. If you want to cut back down, keep your protein intake high, peel off some of that fat. It's cycles, man. And there are people that preach main gaining and these like very precise ways to stay the same body weight and lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. It can be done. It's incredibly difficult.
That's what I was going to say. It's like we're all busy people.
I just think that it's more efficient to lose weight in a weight loss phase and to gain weight in a weight gain phase.
And take a little maintenance break in between the phases.
And then go back and forth.
Yeah.
That to me, you're going to get more muscle gain if you are really able to push. You're going to get more fat loss if you're really able to restrict rather than try and just dial in your numbers so perfectly. You know, as an advanced person, maybe 10, 15 years in, you can do that.
Well, because then you really know your calorie. But
when
because
you're new,
everybody is so different in what their calorie needs are. And even, I mean, I've been seeing some, interesting like reels of, like new research where people can eat the exact same food and absorb different amounts of nutrition and calories from it to a certain extent.
I don't know how legitimate that is.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I'm just saying that to say it's like if you have to be so specific for this main gaining thing, there's a lot of variables and differences between people. I mean, you need probably 10 years of knowing yourself to know how you're going to respond to those microscopic changes.
And how, not just physically, but mentally.
Yeah.
Because if you're somebody that really bloats up after you've had a lot of carbs, then the first couple weeks back on the massing phase, when you've upped your carbs, you're going to feel like, oh my God, I've lost all my progress because you're bloated.
But then nope, I just bloat.
If you have the,
it's okay.
the
It'll come
background
back down.
of knowledge, man.
Yeah.
That's I've seen a couple of those TikToks about
I've wanted
absorption.
to look into them more.
I don't know. That's the thing. I've just my skeptical side.
Interesting.
My skeptical side is like, this is pseudoscience. This is
my thought was interesting idea. I'd like to read the study.
Yeah, I don't know we just don't know. There's so much. We always talk about nutrition science is the Wild West.
Yeah,
man.
I mean it could be junk science. It could be true. Honestly, I mean we don't really know.
There is definitely. Obviously, there are people that absorb and digest different macronutrients differently. Like we just talked about. Some people absorb carbohydrates better than others. Some people are lactose intolerant. Yeah. So,
and we always talk about like, oh, I have a fast metabolism. Oh, I have a slow metabolism.
Yeah.
Like people do metabolize things differently.
The thing is like, it's so hard to know exact calorie expenditure because it's such an invasive process.
And there's so many variables.
And the body doesn't really partition calories. It's like 10 calories are going to your heart, 20 calories are going to your liver. Like it doesn't do that.
No.
It's a holistic system.
Right.
So it would be really, really difficult to see like, okay, you take in 100 calories and 90 of it is going to your vital functions and 10 of it is going to adding on fat. Whereas this person is 50-50. We'll never know that.
No.
You know what I mean? Or at least I don't think we will. Maybe there are smarter scientists who are designing studies.
You'd probably have to have somebody in some fancy scanner that we haven't invented yet to know all that.
I think so.
It would be very
and
invasive.
It would be very invasive and it would be really hard to because you'd have to do it on a
somebody
case
would
study
have
basis.
to dedicate their entire life to it.
And then how do you then extrapolate that out to massive 8 billion human population?
You couldn't even do that study of a person living their normal life.
Right.
It would have to be so regimented in the lab, controlled 24/7.
That's what I'm saying.
It just wouldn't be applicable to a normal person.
This is why nutrition science is and will be the Wild West. You know, we'll get better and we'll start to understand more. But if anybody in the nutrition field tells you
we know something,
something certainly, be very skeptical of that person, because we really don't. You know, like that's why this Blue Holes or Blue Planet, or what's the one? Blue Zone.
The Blue Zones.
That's it.
Yeah.
Blue Planet is a great documentary.
I would like to watch the Blue Zones thing.
It's a bunch of garbage.
It looks interesting though.
Sure, it's interesting, but it's pseudoscience. It's like what?
I think it's a case study. It's 5 case studies.
Sure.
And I think it's interesting. I think you need to realize it's a case study, and
I think I saw one
might not apply to you.
I saw one pretty big flaw in that. I don't remember which zone, but they claim one of the zones is very much a plant-based diet, and it's not. It is incredibly meat-based. Yeah, they just
is it Italy?
No, I think it's the one in Japan, Okinawa.
Oh yeah, they're all seafood based.
Fish, dude. That's all they eat. But they made it seem like it was very much like 80% plant-based. It's like, no. Have you ever been to Japan? It's an island.
Right.
I'll tell you what, as someone who grew up on an island, people are eating a lot of fish.
People eat a lot of seafood.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I hate all that popular media, like Food Inc. I hated that too.
Yeah.
It's all just processed, inauthentic, like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's hard, folks. It's hard.
It's the Wild West out there.